Welcome, NFL football fans. It's that time again. Time for another edition of NFL Football Talk. This is an Inside Sports production. Hope everybody's enjoying the holiday season here. I'm your host, Charles E. Smith Jr. About to break everything down. The playoff race is still going on. But as you know, I don't break things down alone here. I'm going to need some help to get this done, so I do only enlist the very, very best. Some of you already follow him on Twitter at Chris L Sports, and if not, you should be. So here he is from somewhere in an undisclosed location in beautiful Southern California, none other than the man, the myth, the legend, Chris Lardieri. Chris, what's happening out there?
Charles, great to be back. I know I'm two of those three. Thanks again. Want to wish you and our loyal fans a Merry Christmas.
Yep, most definitely. Now, I mean, this past week, week 14, lots of things got settled, things got unsettled. We'll see what's happening here, but I'm sorry, this is week 15 we just passed up. Week 16 is coming up, everybody. Sorry, I've got kind of Christmas brain going on, as everybody knows. All y'all have it out there, too. So the big thing is Odell Beckham Jr. of the Giants in his big head-to-head matchup with cornerback Josh Norman of the Carolina Panthers. Things got, shall we say, a little bit ugly, a little bit dicey. And what did you think about that, Chris? I know you're a Giants guy, so there you go. Your team had that big, huge 28-point comeback, even though they couldn't get over the hump. But crazy game all around.
Yeah, it was a great game, and even though I'm a lifelong Giants fan and a fan of Odell Beckham Jr.'s, he deserved this suspension. He deserved to be thrown out of that game. My son, who was watching the game on my phone at one point, because you're out and about, was asking me, like, why is Odell Beckham hitting Josh Norman, and why did he hit him with his head? So that right there sums it all up. He completely lost his cool. I get it. People do it all the time in all walks of life. But to lead with the head like that, where we're in this total lockdown, for lack of a better word, of concussions in the NFL, not only could he have hurt Josh Norman, he was dumb enough he could have hurt himself. He could have snapped his neck, given himself a concussion. So dumb on so many levels. I know Tom Coughlin's taken a lot of flack for not reprimanding him or sitting him out a series. The refs have taken flack for not tossing him after he'd given him 3 flags, and I completely agree with that. The refs have let things get out of control this year, but none worse than that. But he deserves it. The suspension was upheld. He sent out a mass email tonight to Giants season ticket holders that I saw, apologizing for his actions, and that actions have consequences. So good for him in that respect, but too little, too late. Yeah,
that's true. And you got to wonder, though, with Coughlin, and Coughlin always having that reputation of being this strict disciplinarian, maybe, do you think it's a point where Coughlin, maybe he's emotionally checked out of the whole Giants situation just a little bit? Let's not say completely divested, but he kind of knows that maybe it's a win, lose, or draw type of thing. This is really his last season there in New York, so maybe he just kind of isn't, as fully vested as he should be.
I completely agree. It's like having senioritis in high school, and he knows either way, if he does get fired, he's getting paid for another year. He's won 2 Super Bowls. He's made a lot of money. And honestly, this is not the Tom Coughlin that came into the league to clean up the Giants well over a decade ago. And then part of me wonders, did he not say a thing about Beckham? Because let's face it, he's their only Pro Bowl player. He's their only threat on offense. It's him and Eli playing catch. And you think in the back of his mind, well, he's kind of like LT back in the day. He's got me by the family jewels, and we need him to win. What am I going to do?
Yeah, that's true. And also, got to give it up for performances in that game. First of all, JPP, Jason Pierre-Paul, got his first sack of the season. And then Cam Newton, quarterback for the Carolina Panthers, the first player in history to throw for 300 yards, rush for 100 yards, and throw 5 touchdown passes in the same game. So lots of fantastic performances. In fact, I think this is going to, for Beckham, this will be the thing when he looks back on his career, even just a few seasons from now. This is going to be a turning point. And we had talked about, had I ever seen anything like this before when we were talking off air. And I think the only thing I can compare it to is Andre Rison and Deion Sanders back in the day, when Deion was still playing for Atlanta, and they got into a little something. Let's just hope that Beckham's girlfriend doesn't burn his house down like what happened to Andre Rison,
Yeah, in that case, OBJ better stay away from the singers. But yeah, I remember that. That was great. They were going at it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, really, that's the first proverbial wrestling match we've had in the league since then, with a receiver going up against a cornerback. I mean, even Chad Ochocinco / Johnson and Terrell Owens never really put shenanigans on like this with another cornerback.
Yeah, exactly. And then one thing we got to touch on, because I saw the Patriots game, and the Patriots were playing. They're playing Tennessee, and they're up by 14 points with the clock winding down. The game is already settled, and they decide to kick a field goal right there at the end. They didn't need any more points, but the spread on the game was 14.5. And they were up by 14. So was that a little gift maybe to all the Patriots faithful who may or may not have had money on the game? No, I know Belichick has no idea what this is because he wouldn't follow such things, but what do you think?
Well, Belichick has no idea about anything. Spygate, the PSI of a football. If he did, he would deny it to you. But yeah, Belichick's such a control freak. I'd really be surprised if he didn't know the line. I don't know. Maybe Al Michaels had tipped off during the game or something, and like he's prone to do during Sunday night telecasts. But yeah, I don't know. Do you think Goodell's still probably got a bad taste in his mouth from Deflategate and Spygate? You think you should look into this?
Yeah, I know. I don't know. We'll have to see. So, anyways, and the injuries again piling up. T.J. Yates, the quarterback of the Houston Texans, he's down with a torn ACL. He was replacing the quarterback also, Brian Hoyer, who was out with a concussion. So we'll see what the situation is there. You got those two wounded teams in that AFC South coming down to the wire. And Tyrann Mathieu, defensive back for the Arizona Cardinals, also he goes down with an ACL. So the injuries are just continuing to pile up. And then from what I understand, for the Kansas City Chiefs, Tom Coughlin and Justin Houston now dealing with injuries as well. So season is coming down and it's not getting any better on that front.
Yeah, as we've been fond of saying through the years, it's the team that's healthiest in December. We may have to asterisk this and say closest to being healthy because they're dropping like flies. And the one I really think is going to be a big loss is Tyrann Mathieu for the Cardinals. He's having a great year anchoring that secondary with Patrick Peterson. In the sense that it's a safety, can you stick someone in there? Yeah, maybe, but this guy was a playmaker, and he got hurt intercepting a pass late in the game against the Eagles. Really has a nose for the ball, so it'll be interesting to see how who the next man up is for Arizona. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think that's kind of under the radar because it happened so late Sunday night.
Right, and both of those were non-contact injuries, so yeah, that's always bad to see. Here, also, we got to give a little bit of a shout-out to Charles Woodson. He's retiring after, 18 seasons in the NFL. I think, Heisman Trophy winner from 1997, I believe it was, but definitely just a straight arrow into the Hall of Fame. And I think it's good that he went out this year. He's having kind of a renaissance of his career. So it's good, a nice swan song. Then he doesn't try to squeeze the lemon dry and come back another year, but he's going to kind of go out pretty much on top. So great move for Mr. Woodson.
Yeah, if you're going to go, that's the way to go. And he really had a nice year. I was talking with a Raider fan, and he said he was hoping he'd come back. He's played so well holding down that secondary. But, just reading some up on him, and he just banged up, and it takes longer to recover from things, and his shoulder's been nagging him, and that's life in the NFL. But, he came in the same year as Peyton Manning. He won the Heisman the year everyone thought Peyton would win it. Yep. So maybe that's a hint of things to come for Mr. Manning, too. What do you say?
Yeah, I know. And Peyton Manning is, from what I understand, he's inactive this week again in this big game with the Denver Broncos and Cincinnati, which we're going to break down here in just a moment. So let's go ahead and get into it. The games of the week, as you know, we take 5 of the more intriguing matchups and we break them down and we pick every week and then we see who's closest. So last week, I got to give it up for Mr. Lardieri. I went 4-1, but he goes and pulls off a 5-0 week, and now he has all but cemented the season title here. I'm sitting at 38-37. Thankfully, I got above 500, but Mr. Lardieri sitting at 45-30 on the year. So with 2 weeks to go, barring a collapse that only probably the Cleveland Browns or Detroit Lions could have, when you took a complete leave of your senses. I'm almost ready to give a concession speech here, but I'll save that for next week.
Yeah, don't get ahead of yourself. Much like Ron Rivera, I think I'm going to keep my foot on the gas pedal. We not only want to win, we want to have momentum going into the playoffs. I don't want any rust. Even if I win the regular season, it means nothing. It's a January record that counts, but thank you for the accolades. I appreciate it. And at the end of the day, let's remember a broken clock is right twice a day.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely. And then, something we didn't give props to, though, when we were talking about Arizona, was running back David Johnson, who's come in and filled in fantastically for Andre Ellington and Chris Johnson, who have gone out with injuries. But Johnson winds up with 3 touchdowns there in that big Sunday squashing of the Philadelphia Eagles. And I don't know, even with Matthew injured, the Arizona offense, I think, with Palmer in there, they're just really hitting on all 8 cylinders. They're going to be tough to stop, but I think it's got to be Arizona and Carolina there out of the NFC.
Yeah, I really hope it is. I think that'll be a tremendous NFC Championship game, and potentially even better than a Super Bowl matchup, judging by the looks of the AFC. But yeah, I mean, you got to hand it to Bruce Arians. This guy literally thought he was going to be out of work after leaving the Steelers. He steps into the Colts as an interim coach, and Chuck Pagano gets cancer. The Bears pass on him, and he ends up in Arizona. I mean, everything in life happens for a reason. Bruce Arians is proof of that. And look, he gets the most out of his players. I mean, Carson Palmer's rejuvenated after a major knee surgery. I really, before the year, I thought Arizona would be a good team, but they've exceeded even my expectations.
Yeah, and Arians also maybe a little bit of luck involved, because you think about it with the Bears, he was that close to having to coach Jay Cutler, and that would have been horrible. So let's go ahead and get into the picks here. First of all, we'll go to the AFC. New England Patriots already clinched, already have a first-round bye. They're going to be playing a division game against the New York Jets. The Jets are one of 3 9-5 teams, along with the Kansas City Chiefs and Pittsburgh Steelers, vying for those 2 wild card spots. So they've got a mean game of musical chairs going on. How do you see this one? How division matchups can go. They're often tough. New England does not need the game. The Jets do need the game. What do you think about this one?
Here's what I think. I think, like you outlined, that it's not a must-win for the Patriots. Bill Belichick will make it one, and the Jets are his arch rivals, and there's still a bitter taste in his mouth from the whole Spygate deal. And the Jets played the Patriots tough once, but I think what we've learned from the Patriots over the years, even the undefeated season, they're definitely a team that does not want to kind of rest guys and lose any sort of momentum. I think it'll be another close, hard-fought game. The Jets' defense has been playing excellent. Their offense sputtered against the Cowboys. But at the end of the day, I'm going to go with Tom Brady and Gronkowski. As great as Muhammad Wilkerson's playing on the Jets, I think it'll be a close, hard-fought game. But Patriots, I don't know, is it really a moral victory or grudge match, whatever? I think they want this win. Belichick is a curmudgeonly fellow with a long memory, and I'm picking the Pats.
And you gotta go with the Patriots here. For one thing, it's the big game experience, the coaching. We talk about the little things. The Patriots do so many little things well, and it almost might behoove the Patriots to let the Jets win and hope that somehow the Steelers get knocked out of the playoffs, so they don't have to see them down the road in the postseason. But I'm going to go ahead and go with the Patriots here because, they just don't know how to tank. Let's just go ahead and say that. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, they're not tanking games. They're running up the score to cover.
or not, because,
Yeah, allegedly.
Yeah. Okay, so next game, Washington Redskins in Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. Now, the Redskins in that whole topsy-turvy NFC East, they've kind of put themselves ahead of the pack here, and if they win this, they are the NFC East champs. So Washington in Philadelphia. Philadelphia just got their butts whooped last week. I don't see Washington losing this game. I think Kirk Cousins has found a nice rhythm. Washington is believing now. So I'm going to go with Washington to stay hot and take down Philadelphia. I got to go say Washington on this one. What do you think?
We're going to be in agreement again. I think they're in the driver's seat, and Gruden will not let his team forget that. And the combined with the fact that the Eagles' defense has been absolutely atrocious this year, as evident last week against the Cardinals. I'm starting to wonder if there's going to be a mutiny on that team, or if maybe some players haven't quit. Chip Kelly's completely bungled this DeMarco Murray situation. He's on the bench in key situations. It's almost like he's punishing him. And on top of that, I look at Sam Bradford and I see that deer in the headlights look again. I don't like what I see. So I think they're going to put the Eagles and the Giants out of their misery with one victory. I'm going Redskins.
Okay, there we go. And next game, this would be a great game here. Green Bay Packers in Arizona to take on the Cardinals. And the Packers, they've still got a shot, an outside shot at actually getting that first round bye. They're going to have to win this game, though. So Aaron Rodgers in Arizona against that great Cardinals defense, which will be minus Tyrann Mathieu. But what do you think here? Packers have been on a roll a little bit. They want to stay ahead of Minnesota, who they've got a showdown coming with in a couple of weeks here. So Packers in Arizona to take on the Cardinals. How do you see this one?
I'm going with the Cardinals. I think, at least in their mind, another team that wants to keep the momentum going. They've got an outside shot of locking up home field throughout if the Panthers slip up here in the next couple of weeks. And like you said, they're really going to miss Matthew, but that defense has really been solid as an intact. And Rodgers has kind of been up and down. I know he's been playing better as of late, but I watched some of that game against the Raiders last week. They just couldn't really seem to put that team away until late, and that's been a problem with the Packers along with the running game this year. And frankly, I think the Packers' defense will be exposed by Carson Palmer. I'm going Arizona.
Yeah, and I think what that is right, and that's a case where you have one strong defense, another suspect, and I think on offense, you can go ahead and say that, Rodgers being the best quarterback in the league as he is, let's say the offenses are awash. The difference is going to be the Arizona Cardinals defense is going to step up more than the Packers defense. So I think the Packers are good enough and have the personnel to beat all but the very best teams, and Arizona is one of those very best teams. So
definitely, and the Packers are a classic 3 seed. They're good enough to win their division, but they're not going to get a bye week.
Yep, and let's go ahead on to the New York Giants in Minnesota to play against the Vikings. The Giants, as we talked about, a little bit depleted. And Odell Beckham Jr. is going to be sitting out that one-game suspension. They're in Minnesota, but Adrian Peterson, I guess, nursing a little bit of a sore ankle. But a lot on the line for the Minnesota Vikings. And I'll say this, if Beckham was playing, I would give the Giants a puncher's chance in this game. But like you mentioned early in the show, it's down to Eli and Odell Beckham Jr. playing pitch and catch. So now Eli can pitch, but there's no one to catch. I'm going with the Vikings in this one.
No further analysis necessary on my side. Completely agree. Even with Beckham, I was leaning towards picking the Vikings. And I think inevitably, come Monday morning in New York, the Vultures will continue to circle in the media. I'm already reading a lot about them calling for Coughlin and General Manager Jerry Reese's head. So let the games begin.
Okay. And then final game, and this should be a fantastic matchup here, is the Cincinnati Bengals in Denver to play against the Broncos. Now, Cincinnati's already clinched a playoff spot. Denver, though, at 10-4, but it's a shaky 10-4. You got nipping at their heels the 9-5 teams, the Jets, the Chiefs, and the Steelers. Now, Denver can win this game and clinch a playoff berth, but Brock Osweiler's going, and also that Denver has not scored in the second half of their last 3 games. And that offensive line, the way it's looked, I'll say this, Peyton Manning's going to be inactive, but were I Manning at his age and sitting on the bench, watching defenders slice through that offensive line like Swiss cheese, I might be sitting there saying, no, Coach, this foot is really hurting me a little bit more. I don't think I can. I need another week down here, So I'm going Bengals in this. Swarming defense and a suspect offensive line. I think it's going to spell doom for the Denver Broncos. It'll be a good game, but I'm going with I got to go with the Bengals on this one.
Charles, let's make it a perfect sweep, and I will agree with you. While I'm not thrilled about picking a team quarterback by A.J. McCarron to win, I watch a lot of that Pittsburgh-Denver game, and you're right. Their offensive line is a sieve, and the Steelers aren't known for their defensive prowess. even if Osweiler plays and he's banged up, that offense has really been struggling the last few weeks. Could see this being a low-scoring kind of defensive struggle of a game, but at the end of the day, I got to agree with you. I like the Bengals' defense, and they've got A.J. Green on the offensive side of the ball.
Yep, absolutely. So there we go, folks. So just to give a little recap here, we agree on all 5 games. We both take the New England Patriots to take down the Jets. We've got Washington over Philadelphia, the Cardinals to win at home over the Green Bay Packers, Minnesota will win at home over the New York Giants, and Cincinnati goes on the road and takes down the Broncos in Mile High Stadium. So that's just about it here, but we always have to hear from Mr. Lardieri, who is a very learned individual. Mr. Lardieri, what have you got for us, all the fans out there? We love your nuggets of wisdom here on the show.
Learn it. I like that very much. Well played. Every year fans complain about the referees, and justifiably so. But I've got to say, in all my years of watching the NFL, I think this is the worst, sans the replacement refs of a few years ago. Just completely magnified by what happened at the Meadowlands on Sunday. Now it comes out where Dean Blandino, and why he would admit this, I don't know, other than to cover his own butt, but said that he had used his bat phone or whatever to get a hold of Terry McCauley's crew and say that, you can throw a guy out of a game, essentially. And I think that just highlights what's going on. And ironically, Mike Pereira on Fox, the guy who comes in and gives the instant analysis on the 8 replays during an NFL game on average or whatever it's up to now, it's clear to me that once he left, things have really, gone by the wayside or become disorganized. I don't know Dean Blandino. I don't know much about him, but his referee's work speaks for itself. And I think at the end of the day, Charles, we can all trace it back to my favorite whipping boy, Roger Goodell, the man who wants money over quality. And ultimately, you're only as good as the people beneath you. And referees are the latest mess on the NFL's hands.
Yep. There we go. And the movie Concussion coming out here very soon, I understand. So we'll see how that goes. I may check that out at some point here during the holidays. So remember, everybody, you can follow me on Twitter at The Inside Sports. Follow Mr. Lardieri on Twitter at Chris L. Sports. So for Mr. Lardieri, this is Charles E. Smith Jr. Thank you for watching NFL Football Talk. Everybody have a Merry Christmas, and we'll see you next week.